Hey y'all, I'm Rylan. Welcome to my channel. I am here today to bring y'all a Kindle Unlimited recommendations video. Sitting in front of me, I have 6 physical books that I have read in the past year and a half or so and absolutely loved, would recommend them, and they are also on Kindle Unlimited. Additionally, I have 3 more books that I read on KU that I don't own physically that I have here to rec to y'all today. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive into all of these romances. I am on live reading sprints right now, so my laptop is hanging out right here. Yeah, got about half an hour until sprints go back on, so I'm filming this video now. All of these books, I don't know if I just said this like 15 seconds ago, all of these books are romances. I primarily read romance on KU, so if you're into romance or want to get into romance, then keep watching because I have several recommendations for y'all. I'm going to go ahead and start with the books that I have sitting in front of me physically. There are 6 here, and all of them are books that I have given 4 or 5 stars, really enjoyed, and so I'm going to go into a brief synopsis for each one as well as give my general thoughts before moving on to the next one. These aren't quite going to be rapid reviews, but I am going to try to move quickly through all of these so I can recommend y'all several books that I love and think, yeah, everybody needs to read. Some of these are also very hyped up, so I'll mention the ones that are less hyped, but at least like from my perspective on social media. But yes, I do have several recommendations here. First up in this stack that I have is Tryst 6 Venom by Penelope Douglas. It has been a hot minute since I've read something by Penelope, but they are definitely one of my favorite romance authors. I read Tryst 6 Venom. That's kind of a hard title to say. I read this book last summer, and really enjoyed it. This is an enemies to lovers bully sapphic romance. I will say that it was very, very slow to start and I was struggling with it, but once I got into it, I really ended up enjoying it. I did tab this one and I underlined it, like I underlined different parts in it. Like, let me see if I can find something that I underlined. Not super frequently, but I definitely thought that I did. But yes, anyway, this is about Olivia and Clay, who go to the same school and they hate each other. Olivia is very much on the outskirts because of where she is from and how she grew up, and she makes a point of trying to get under Clay's skin. Clay is like a good girl, or so she claims to be. She loves to mess with and bully Olivia. They do that to each other, but that's because they are harboring feelings for each other. But Clay feels like she cannot come out as bisexual or lesbian, and she feels like she cannot have a relationship with another girl. So because of those feelings, she takes out everything on Olivia, who again is very much an outcast at this school. So anyway, they bully each other a lot, they fight a lot, they are always causing some sort of drama, but that eventually turns into real feelings for each other and a lot of happiness and a lot of really great moments together. So again, really enjoy this one. Gave it 4 stars. It is very much a chunk. It's probably over 500 pages. It's almost 600 pages. But I had a lot of fun reading it once I got into it, probably within 80 or 90 pages, and would definitely recommend this one. I just checked before filming this video and it is on Kindle Unlimited, so make sure you go check it out. I will have all of the trigger warnings for it in the description down below. I can't remember what they are currently off the top of my head, but I do put those in my descriptions when I do know the content warnings for the books that I talk about. So I'll have all those down below, but I would recommend this one if you like enemies to lovers and bully romances. They are in high school still, but I think they're both 18. So really enjoyed it and would recommend it. Next up, I have The Ward Duet by Shanora Williams. These are not the original covers, but I do have the Dark and Quirky special editions that they did a couple months ago. This is an age gap romance between, oh gosh, Gabby and Marcel. Marcel is Gabby's landscape architect She is married to a very terrible man, and Marcel is an older man who comes along and really just proves how great of a man he is. So this is a duet. The first book does kind of end on a cliffhanger. I gave The Man I Can't Have 5 stars. I gave The Man I Need 4 stars. It just wasn't as good as the first book, but I did still really enjoy it and would recommend them. I do just also want to mention really fast, and I will put a spoiler bar if you don't want to hear it, but it is a very huge content warning for this book, and this one does have very blatant cheating in it. Gabby is a married woman, and she does do things with Marcel while she's married, and yeah, that is a big thing in this one. So if you're not comfortable with that, just keep that in mind. But Gabby and Marcel really do have a beautiful story, and I enjoyed reading about them. I listened to these ones on audio and had a really good time with them. The first book had me like gripping the arms of my chair. I was so into it. I was actually live during reading sprints, kind of like I am right now, when I finished it, and it was really good. I was obsessed. The second one, again, I didn't love it as much, but it was still very enjoyable. I love Gabby and Marcel, and I love that we got to watch them develop between 2 books versus just like having one. So that was really, really good. I love how Marcel was so protective of Gabby, but like also wanted her to be her own person and like do her own thing. So I loved that, and how, yeah, he really tried to take care of her and bring her out of the really bad situation. So my second Kindle Unlimited recommendations, this is a duet. I've already said that. The first book will end not great, so you're gonna want to read the second one right away probably, but they are both on Kindle Unlimited, and yeah, would recommend. Next, I have a book that my opinion on this one is pretty unpopular, I want to say, because I think the author's writing only gets better as the series continues, but Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller was a 5-star read for me. This book is on Kindle Unlimited. I loved it. It is about Cal and Elena. Cal is kind of known as like this doctor murder guy, and he's a doctor, but like he also kills a lot of people. He works for Elena's dad, who is a mafia king, or whatever that term is, for like the head of a mafia wherever, and they have a history together, but they don't really like each other, but like they're also both very attracted to each other. Cal forces Elena to marry him one night, and then they're married. And there's a lot of drama in this book, there's a lot of spice, there's a lot of violence, but I think that Cal and Elena were simply amazing together. I couldn't help but fall in love with Cal. Even like within the first 100 pages, I was like, I will marry you. I love Elena, she's great, but we can chuck her off to the side and I'll take her spot, because Cal, he was so broody and mean, and yes, he kills people, but like he also really cares for Elena. And so, you know, to me, like that beats all the murder and like mafia stuff going on. There is some mystery going on in here as well, as they seem to have a little bit of a stalker problem and blackmail going on, which kind of ties in with the second book even more, but which is a companion novel. This is a standalone. They do have a little prequel, but it's not necessary to read. It just kind of provides more context on their history. But yes, a really, really fun book. I ate it up, loved it, could not get enough of Cal especially, and I love that in this one we get both his POV and her POV. I love getting multiple POVs, but I especially love getting stuff from the guys' perspectives in romance. So I had a lot of fun with this one and really, really enjoyed it. I do have a reading vlog for this book. I did it for Bookmas in 2022. I will tag it above if you want to watch it, but again, 5 stars. It is on KU. I will have the trigger warnings for it in the description down below if you want to check it out. My opinion on this one is very unpopular because there are a lot of plot holes that I wish were kind of filled in, and just based off what I've seen on reviews for the next books, like the next companion novels in the series, they do get better. I have read Vipers and Virtuosos, which is book 2, but I also recommend that one, but I'm just recommending this one in this video. Yeah, and like the ratings for that one are much better than this one, and I think a big part of that is because there are a lot of plot gaps in it, which makes me sad, but also I'm just obsessed with Cal to the point that I didn't really care, and I was like 5 stars. So that's this book. Loved it, would recommend it. Y'all need to read it if you haven't already. This is a very hyped up book though, so yeah, take that with a grain of salt. I also have Unconditional by QB Tyler. I was gifted this book by my friend Sabrina over on Instagram, and I read this book in less than 24 hours. I was obsessed with it. If you are a fan of taboo romance, then this one is definitely for you. This is about, oh gosh, Maddie and Cal. So we have another Cal. This one is spelled different, and Cal has been Maddie's guardian growing up. So she is not quite 18 years old, which is a big thing just to like understand with this book. She's still a minor when they both admit that maybe their relationship isn't so fatherly daughterly. So that's this one. But yeah, Maddie has gone through a lot in her past with her parents and things like that, and so Cal took her in from a very young age, and they grew up with each other. And really Cal like was also growing up as Maddie was growing up, because he was a very young police person, detective, and so they kind of both grew up together, and so they have a really strong bond. If you like taboo, this is definitely one that should be read. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't not expecting to, but I was a little bit nervous at first just because the writing wasn't my favorite. I feel like it was kind of awkward at times, just being like in grad school for writing in English and just like trying to practice those kinds of things. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I really was obsessed with both Maddie and Cal, and really ended up falling in love with them both in the end. So gave this book 4 stars. I did really enjoy it, and I recommend it if you're ever looking for a taboo read that goes very quickly. And I do believe that most, if not all, of QB Tyler's books are on KU, and everybody seems to just love her writing, so I will definitely be checking out more from the author in the future. And then the last physical book that I have is The Revenge Pact. This is a football romance that made me sob. I was crying for, I'm not even exaggerating too much when I say that I was crying for probably 40 or 50 pages. Truly, my heart was breaking while I read this one last summer, and I'm still mad about it, but also happy about it because I love to cry in my books. But this is a football romance about River, who is a god on campus, and Anastasia is dating this guy who is very much a dirtbag, but River and her end up like being in the same room together a lot, and River has had a crush on her for quite a while now, but he's been too nervous to like say anything because he doesn't want to like ruin, I don't think he wants to ruin the relationship that she does have, even though it's not great, but he also just like struggles with a lot of things, and they don't really like, he puts on, it's hard for me to put into words because one, I've read it like almost a year ago, but two, like it's so hard because he pretends to not like her when really he's in love with her. I think it's more than just a crush. I'm pretty sure that he like loves her. So like it was just so hard to watch him pining after her and like being so infatuated with her, but like not doing anything about it. And my heart was sad because Anastasia was with the dirtbag for a long time in the book, and River goes through a lot with his family, and I was just crying. I was a hot mess. This is a very beautiful love story. It does have a happy ever after, so there is that, but like it takes a lot to get there, and my heart just like, it still hurts just looking at it. So yikes. Easy 5 stars for me for this book. I did also just check before filming this video, and it is on Kindle Unlimited as well, so I recommend checking this one out. I don't really see this one a ton on social media. That doesn't mean that it's not hyped, but I feel like this one is less hyped than books like Unconditional or Promises and Pomegranates, and so is the word Duet. This one is very much not super hyped up, so I really enjoyed them, which is why I'm trying to like kind of do a good mix of hyped books and not hyped books. So The Revenge Pact, 5 stars, so beautiful, cried, and that's really all I have to say about that one. The last 2 books that I have to talk about very quickly because my life sprints are starting again in 7 minutes because that's the end of our sprint. So the last 2 books that I have are one, Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold. This is a friends to lovers reverse harem romance. It is about our best friend, our main character, Layla, who cannot get past a first date. She has gone on 100 plus dates and has never made it to a second date, and she teams up with her best friends Josh, Luke, and Zach, who have a podcast about dating advice, to not only give them a new segment on their podcast, but also to give her dating experience so they fake date her. There's a lot of spice, there's a lot of really funny moments between them. It is a very sad book at times as well. It does have a happy ever after, so we love to see that. But there are a lot of very hard conversations that go on in this book, especially about grief and loss of loved ones, but that balances out really well with the humor and the happiness. I do say that I wish that there was more pining from the guys in the end, you know how that third act breakup is, but I was just smiling throughout most of this one, so I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Lily Gold is very much becoming a hyped author right now, and I do want to read more from her. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but Faking with Benefits, 5 stars. I'm not a huge fan of the friends to lovers trope either, and this one just had me smiling, so would recommend it also for that reason. I need to read more friends to lovers now because chef's kiss. And then the last book that I have is probably the book that I read the longest ago, and that is Bruised But Not Broken. I need to even look up the synopsis of it because I cannot tell you what it's about right now. But this is an romance about... Okay, sorry, I just found the synopsis for it. This book is about Ben and Colby. Ben hosts a bi-weekly trauma support group at his gym with his best friend and his brother, one of whom is a therapist. I think that his brother and best friend think that he needs therapy for just trauma that he's been through in the past, so they recommend that he starts this group here. I don't think that he very willingly participates, but he does host it at the gym that he owns. Colby shows up one night, not for the therapy group, but just he shows up in the vicinity of the gym, beat up and bruised and broken, and they offer him, Ben and his brother offer him the apartment upstairs if he works in the gym a couple of hours a week and pays for his room and board. They want to get him out of a situation that he's in right now, but Ben and Colby end up having a relationship and falling in love with each other. This is an age gap, I believe. It does also touch on some really hard topics. One of the big things in the book is the trauma support group, so it is a very overarching plot and theme in the story. But I did really enjoy this one. I gave it 4 stars when I read it last year. It's a really quick read. I'm pretty sure that most of the author's books are less than 300 pages, and I do believe that this one is in the same realm as that. It is, well, let's see, the audiobook is only 6 hours. Let's see, the book is 312 pages, so it's barely over 300 pages. They're very quick reads. I've read a couple of books by the author, and yeah, have really enjoyed all of them. So this is an romance that deals with a lot of really, really heavy topics that was also just so beautiful and warmed my heart, and I really enjoyed reading it. So those are all the recommendations that I have for y'all today. I hope that I wasn't too speedy with talking about each book, but I also hope that I didn't ramble too much because that does happen at times. If you have read any of these books, feel free to comment down below and let me know your thoughts on them. If you have any Kindle Unlimited recommendations for me, again, comment down below and let me know what I should be reading from KU. I do primarily lean towards romance, but I will read other things that are on KU as well, so just let me know all the recs that y'all have. Again, I will have all the content warnings for all of these books in the description down below. They all have several to their name, so I will share them down below if you want to check them out before picking up these books potentially. I also have the website down below for booktriggerwarnings.com, which is a website that I believe was put together by 2 readers who have gathered this whole database with a lot of books on it that they'll share the trigger warnings for each book. I'm not sure how many of these books are on that website, but there are a lot of books on there. I do really enjoy having access to that website to look up the books that I want to read or am reading, just to see their trigger warnings beforehand if they're on that website. So I do have that down there available for anybody who wants to check it out as well. That is all that I have for this recommendations video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.